Hi, welcome to our overview of the Imms et al. Book, Developing New Learning Environments, Co-Constructing Innovation in Education Practice, which was written in 2016. This particular chapter focuses on the intersection between space and pedagogy and architects and educators. So for the next 6 minutes, Jill, I'm going to take you through this, looking at it through the perspective of the educator.
And I, Allie, will take you through the perspective of an architect.
The purpose of this chapter is to evaluate the effectiveness of physical learning environments that support innovative educational practices. Past research has either been in the architectural or the educational domain. They don't look at it with combined effects. This particular study took into account both perspectives and supports the practice of co-constructing innovation in education. So why is it important to combine our efforts? Well, have you ever been in a space that doesn't support your innovative pedagogy? At times I've had students collaborate in spaces that are far too small. And at times I've had students want to make their own podcast. But again, the environment is a barrier. And on the flip side of that, at times I've seen really innovative spaces with innovative, flexible furniture and one-to-one devices for students. But the teachers go back to that traditional legacy style of teaching. I've even seen teachers put their flexible furniture out in the hall so that students can no longer use it. As a teacher, I need a space that meets my needs and the needs of my students. We need to map the complex connections and relationships between building design and educational practice.
And as an architect, I need to understand those needs and create a space that supports students and teachers alike. As Imms notes, to further the field of learning environment evaluation, we need to address the existing polarized work and work together to understand the complex nature of education. To build a model for the co-construction of innovative education practices in innovative learning environments, we must first understand, is innovation in learning environment design and education practice viewed the same way by architects and educators? And what trends typify innovation in learning environment design?
And education practice? And how can we evaluate the impact innovative learning environments have on innovations in education?
From the architectural perspective, there is a great diversity of opinions. There are multiple views on innovative learning environment models, and there is not consensus on a single model, but there are similarities across them. Let's take a look at 4 mentioned by Imms et al. First is the defining spaces for effective learning from the Joint Information System, which has 6 principles for designing spaces for effective learning. They believe learning spaces should be flexible, future-proofed, bold, creative, supportive, and enterprising. While the framework considers the environment and the education practice, it tends to put the environment first. Next, the Program on Educational Building project of the OECD produced the Compendium of Exemplary Education Facilities, using the following criteria to determine exemplary practice. 1. Flexibility, 2. Community needs, and 3. Safety and security. The third framework is EDUCAUSE's approach, which orients us to a more active connection with digital learning in the design process. The features of their approach include digital, mobile, independent, social, and participatory. The emphasis on digital learning reminds us that we must think about digital and physical environments and how we evaluate their effectiveness. Finally, the report on innovative learning environments from the Center for Educational Research and Innovation developed a model of learning environments that exemplifies innovation in learning environments. The model encompasses learners, educators, content, and resources, and is thought to be a holistic framework about the ecosystem of learning. In summary, the common themes we see throughout these frameworks is a focus on the environmental features to support learning, but not an equal focus on education practice and pedagogy. And also, there's a heavy development by the architecture community with, it seems to be, limited input by educators in the field. Or in other words, existing frameworks seem to be more focused on theory rather than practice.
And educators have innovative practices too that aren't called out and should be accounted for. The frameworks that constitute innovation in education practice must be overlaid with the architectural frameworks for true innovation that supports student learning. So what does this mean? When given the opportunity to innovate within the education industry, we have to bring architects and educators together to both equally contribute and listen. And then we have to use both the architects and educators framework to truly evaluate innovative learning environments and innovative practices. which can be messy. This opportunity, though, can create a new combined framework to inform innovative learning spaces and practices. And what do we do when we finally do come together? We innovate in both areas to truly enhance student outcomes. Innovating in just one area is only going to affect little change, but innovating in both the environment and with the pedagogy will affect a larger innovation outcome. That doesn't mean, of course, that it all happens at once. We all know innovation is a slow process. It's developed over time, but purposefully making these innovative changes in both areas will lead to improved learning outcomes.
How do we go about this together? Imms et al. Recommends looking at how to align impacts on pedagogy to the architectural design process for an integrated and holistic approach. Creating space for innovation in environments and pedagogy may be easiest to implement when an opportunity presents itself in one area and makes space for change in another. As we know, schools must provide stability, predictability, and continuity, which makes it hard to innovate. But a deliberate change in the environment or in pedagogy opens an opportunity for the other to be changed as well. And finally, we ask, who will start to co-construct an innovative learning future? Likely architects like myself and educators like Jill.
Together we can work to fill the gap of an integrated approach that pushes innovation while also aligning the real needs and practices that educators and learners need to thrive. My learning environment is in a brand new state-of-the-art Apple data center in Waukee, Iowa. And one thing I have to keep in mind is that this building is state-of-the-art, and the majority of the principals who are invited to attend this workshop are coming from small rural schools in Iowa. This space will be one unlike anything they've ever seen before. So while the space supports the learning outcomes that involve collaboration, that involve utilizing technology, something I have to be very mindful of is that power issue, so that principals do not feel imposter syndrome. Or if they do arrive and feel imposter syndrome, it's my job to make sure that I curb that and make them feel welcome so that they can thrive and be successful meeting their outcomes.
In my learning environment, I am teaching architects to use the learning and motivation principles from our 503 class to inform design strategies for learning spaces. The workshop asks participants to collaborate with and understand their clients' or school's needs to inform the design of learning environments. But this article also has me thinking that it may be informative to invite educators to the training to participate in creating design strategies and inform our future innovative learning environments that align with emerging pedagogies. Thank you for listening, and we hope you have the opportunity to partner with an architect or educator to enhance learning outcomes in your community and bring innovative practices to the forefront of our industry.